Tarzan's Treehouse, a gargantuan structure wrapped in staircases, bound with ropes, and populated with various rooms and structures. You can't help but look up at this giant tree stump entrance with a curious expression. Most of us remember that the expansive treehouse behind it has been there our whole lives. However, there are many of you who remember the treehouse as it originally appeared when Walt Disney himself opened it to the public 6 decades ago, allowing people of all ages the chance to climb this gargantuan tree. For those of you who don't have the blessing of remembering those years, people such as myself, we grew up always seeing this tree towering over Adventureland, whether the neighboring tree stump was there or not. And now let me tell you the history of this beloved tree, a tree of an imagined species named lovingly the Disneyodendron semperflorens grandis, which translates to large, ever-blooming Disney tree. The sands of time climb up the hourglass as we travel into the distant world of Disneyland in 1962. It was said that Walt Disney was walking through Adventureland one day and felt that what was missing was a giant treehouse. He had always wanted one, and now he had the chance to construct one in the grand style of his recent feature film. Construction began to reroute a portion of the Jungle Cruise in order to make room for the new attraction. Walt Disney had assigned Imagineer Bill Martin to design the structure similar to the 1960 live-action feature film The Swiss Family Robinson, based on the 1812 book of the same name by author Johann David Wyss. To ensure the treehouse was as movie-accurate as possible, Disney animator Wolfgang Reitherman, who designed the treehouse in the movie, was brought in to help supervise the construction. The treehouse would have a massive steel-reinforced concrete trunk that was buried 40 feet into the sandy Anaheim soil to anchor the tree against earthquakes. The grand, sprawling limbs of the structure were made of steel piping, the kind often used to construct oil rigs and other such equipment, and these steel limbs would give the tree its 70-foot height and 80-foot width. The completed tree would weigh an estimated 150 tons. The tree was designed to look like an overgrown fig tree, and would occupy the space formerly taken by a canal that connected the waterways of Rivers of America with the Jungle Cruise. The canal was vital to the park's waterways. It was part of a system of streams and canals that kept all the bodies of water connected so as to prevent stagnation and allow wildlife to move from one area to the next. Now you may notice if you walk through Adventureland today, there is no canal connecting Rivers of America with Jungle Cruise, or at least none that you can see. Actually, back when the treehouse was being constructed, Imagineers had reduced the canal to a large underground pipe that snakes its way around the treehouse, weaving around River Bell Terrace and out to the big river. The treehouse didn't have that large dead tree stump out front like it does today. Instead, there was a small bridge that led over the rushing stream that powered the water wheel. From there, you climbed a staircase to the top of the treehouse. The water wheel I mentioned was a really neat feature of this attraction. Just like in the movie, it delivered water to the top of the treehouse, and the wheel itself drove water-powered features such as a system of bamboo ceiling fans, all interconnected with bands of flat belts. And of course, the water itself flowed from bamboo troughs at the top of the treehouse in order to supply the Robinson family. The different huts and rooms were each furnished with props like the ones in the movie. Some of these props actually were from the movie, such as the pipe organ, which you can hear from all points of the treehouse playing the Swiss Kapolka. And there was even the ship's helm from the movie. The treehouse offered wonderful views of the park, especially since at the time it was one of the tallest structures in Disneyland. The Swiss Family Treehouse opened at Disneyland on November 18, 1962, and its grand opening event was attended by actor John Mills, who played the father in the movie. Walt Disney himself used to love to come out and climb the treehouse when he had the time. As a child, he had always dreamed of having one, and now, well, he owned the largest and, dare I say, coolest treehouse in the world. Park guests often could catch Walt climbing the stairs, his eyes gleaming with joy and a great big grin across his face. And the kiddies loved it. After all, who wouldn't want to climb such an awesome treehouse with Walt Disney himself? The Swiss Family Treehouse enjoyed about 3 decades of popularity, but as the years stretched on through the 1990s, the attraction faced its demise. You see, that decade was awful for Disneyland, because the company had spent lots of money in the previous years opening the failed Disney's MGM Studios park in Florida and the expensive flop that was Euro Disneyland in France. Not to mention that big-ticket items like the new Fantasmic Nighttime Spectacular and the Indiana Jones Adventure had emptied the company's wallets. As a result, Disneyland's operations and maintenance budgets were cut back. Rides like the People Mover, the Skyway, and the Submarine Voyage were all permanently closed. Imagineer Tony Baxter had seen the cutbacks severely affect Walt's park, and he made attempts to keep the shuttered attractions, but sometimes without success. He caught wind that the Swiss Family Treehouse was next on the chopping block. He managed to convince the company to allow him to re-theme the attraction to something more modern. He knew the new animated movie Tarzan was on its way, and he argued that a simple re-theme of the treehouse could help promote it. His project was given the green light. Original props from the Swiss Family Robinson movie were salvaged, some of them being auctioned off, such as the pipe organ. Other props were reused, such as the bell, the helm, the brick stove, and even some of the old bamboo water buckets were kept and turned into plant pots. Phil Collins, who had created the music for the movie, was asked to compose music specifically for the treehouse. Then, Imagineer Bruce Gordon stitched the music tracks into seamless loops that always play in their designated areas. Up. You can even see that Jane had brought her old gramophone, and it plays a familiar tune, the Swiss Polka. Here in the camp, you can go ape crazy by playing the